Hi everyone, I'm going to continue from yesterday's episode on the evidence. So it's definitely a case of trafficking in persons case by force. It's also slavery, servitude, serfdom, debt bondage, and it's 20 years imprisonment. Okay, so basically I'll be just continuing the evidence from my synopsis from yesterday. Okay, so welcome to Authentic Ingenuity Entrepreneur. My name is Mina Crichton. This is my YouTube channel. I'm the narrator of this video clip and every other video clip on my channel. It's also an exhibit for my criminal court cases. So it's evidence that's been my YouTube channel has actually been submitted as an exhibit on court record. So that's noted there. And so today I'm just going to continue with the evidence from yesterday with the court case that was on Monday, the 8th of September 2025. So just to keep my court case authentic and real, I just took this video clip yesterday, just an update so you can all see what I look like. It's a live court case, so the courts and the Crown and the government are all aware that it's live.
Reasons, and it was my decision, not Henry's. So that's another reason why, he could, but we're not going to do that because it's no one's business, and safety-wise for himself and myself.
Okay, there's clear evidence of trafficking in persons, illegal Commonwealth game, and it's global by the use of relationship scams. So it is definitely a warlike game, all right, versus myself and the government. Unfortunately, that is the reality. Just bear in mind the people that are breaking the laws in government do not represent everybody in government, because I used to work for the government. So basically, just like I said in my last video clip, those women are being used for illegal Commonwealth. So just because they, are the originals, they do not actually represent or their country or their island or whatever they want to call it. But the point is, innocent civilians are getting lured into a game, not even realizing it can backfire. They could end up being the next victim to it. The other thing that I've witnessed with this game is that after they use people, whoever's behind the perpetrating do have the motive and intent to steal the money back if they've used money to convince somebody to be on their side, like commit perjury or bribery. I do know that these people have every intention to eliminate the evidence. Okay, so I feel this is such a serious case. I'm a witness to it. Okay, some of the people in my court cases historically were being used, and then they're dead today. Okay, it's not my fault, but it's the decisions they made. The perpetrators use them, and then they murder them. That's the reality of trafficking in persons in this global game that everyone is subject to. Now, in the early years, I didn't understand it. Today, I do 100% how it works. So I will be denouncing it. I believe God drew Henry into my space for the very reason to actually bring myself to reality of what I've actually been subject to going back when I was working for the Ministry of Justice. And the breaches started from the 2008, and then it eventually accumulated. But in my space, while I was working, minding my own business, doing what I was doing in my private life, I felt the hostility. I felt the hell broke loose. I couldn't understand. And that pattern has not stopped. It stops, then starts again, but just different people using it. So I am used to it. So if I've reacted negatively or wrongly, Yes, I've even sworn, okay, because it's the mental anguish. It's the frustration of, I know I'm exactly doing everything correct. I need to be abused, sabotaged, and ridiculed, and, been through hell. The game is hellish, okay? They're stealing other people's good fruits, making it their own when it's not, but they're actually literally stealing somebody's life. So victimization is definitely involved, okay? So we're dealing with unlawful strikes. So I'm dealing with all my court cases have been against the unlawful strikes, wanting all that to be turned over. They have a saying, you die trying. You know what? They actually do mean what they're saying, but that also means we haven't got the mastermind of the game. So I believe I'm supposed to be doing this. At least it gives other people a chance to be aware of what trafficking in persons is, to protect themselves and their own family. And we're talking about, if the government ends up being contaminated by corruption, it's not safe for either them or anyone in public. But the game is global, it's real, and it's hostility, and I have sensed that in court. Okay, basically it is definitely in the criminal jurisdiction a conspiracy to commit murder, okay, just by the evidence on documentation. So if I was to put all the evidence together in documentation, I can actually point out to, a criminal barrister or to the criminal judge the coding, the spirit that it's written in, the consistency of false statement about somebody's reputation, even about my documents that I've handed in that I know they're top-notch work, okay? Lawyers charge over $2,000 for some of those documents, and rightly so, because they are really expensive, hard work. The thing is, whatever you submit to court has to be 100% accurate. Otherwise, you'll get a judge with a personality like myself, and you could get disbarred for deceiving the judge. It's perjury. That's how tight it is with integrity, with those in government, with the same mindset I am. And that's why everyone, or we know, my allies, find me a threat. And I know some of them are living scared because they know they've broken the law. Okay, so I'm fighting for my liberty, I'm fighting for my rights, I'm fighting for my family, my reputation, I'm fighting for my testimony, my faith, and who I am as a person and my existence. So they've made me do this all by myself, okay? They've isolated and contaminated and completely controlled and manipulating me wherever I go. So yes, they've had the upper hand going back to 2008. And also it is definitely a scientific experiment. Now the scientific experiment started with when I was working for my employer. They were studying my personality. Okay, so when I just showed you guys that law in regards how it's actually set out. Now there's a reason why, okay? It's personality, like we've all got a personality. Everyone has a personality. Everyone has different beliefs. Everyone has different background. Everyone has different, status as far as financial. But the key component for integrity to flow through a company, to flow through the government, is integrity and honesty. And the laws are the laws that every single person that is in fiduciary power or in any occupation, a law enforcement officer, a police officer, it is the laws that they will be strictly judged by, meaning you cannot just do your own thing. You cannot enforce your laws and your own beliefs, okay? You may be living in another country, but when you come to New Zealand laws are New Zealand laws, okay? So, but anyway, this is my experience, and the laws that I'm using are only New Zealand laws, okay? I know that it kind of depends. So I know that some lawyers have used other cases and stuff, but during this court hearing, I was able to embarrass the Crown. okay? They've put me through hell. So if they continue on doing unlawful strikes, then I will embarrass them publicly and globally like they have done to me secretly. So in saying that, they were warned. They know that the court case is global. The hearing on the 8th of September, I was able to prove to the judge that the Crown's submission was fraud. They had actually misled the judge. I'd already picked up in the beginning the new judge didn't know anything that I'd submitted to the court. And even the status of what they had decided. So keep in mind the word force here, okay? They had made it a decision. It's a coalition decision by the government where my court case was going to happen and who was going to win. Okay, but I just find this is so illegal. I'm the victim. I've pleaded with the courts. I've begged with the courts, and they've totally ignored it. They've made me suffer, and they know I'm suffering, and then the public are abusing me, trying to drive me to commit suicide. But I'm here. I'm fine. I'm healing. I'm getting over it. But I will not. As long as God gives me air to breathe, I will denounce that evil spirit of corruption, what they're actually doing. But I think everyone's got the picture now. But what happened on the court on the day of the hearing, I will go over my evidence. I've been thinking hard about it. And I know that because it's a global game, I know the honest people who are on my side need something to go on. So there's something in it for everyone. Okay? Just one moment. Okay, I'm having hacking issues all the time. Okay, but what I wanted to show you guys is hardcore evidence of corruption, intimate hacking. I mean, these people or whoever's doing the surveillancing, especially with my court case, they are retrieving the emails and then they're deleting evidence, and then that what I'm saying is they're committing the crime as things happen. So even though I know I've won, they're deleting the evidence, tampering, or they're actually altering the information. It's been quite scary for me because I know as soon as people start deleting your evidence about yourself, it usually is a sign they're going to murder you. And I started having that problem when I was working with Ministry of Justice. So I'll go back to the synopsis, okay, and I'll want to just point out on the key elements of the case. I basically was able to, I went over the interlocutory application process. The thing is, when you go to court, you actually have to convince the judge, you actually have to approve the judge. You know what you're saying, and there's a method of way of doing it. Everything's got to be done in the legal terminology. So by the end of the court case, I was actually able to prove that the council, the Crown, evidence, according to the law, was fraud. Okay. And I also was explaining to the judge that to enter summary judgment is what should have happened on that day, because that's what I thought was meant to be, because according to the law, I'm the plaintiff. On my case, you can ask any experienced court registrar in civil and also civil jurisdiction, that when a plaintiff puts in a case, it is the plaintiff's case. It is not it's the plaintiff's case. It is not the defendant's case. Okay, but they've cheated. They've traded in influence. The court deputy registrar is on their side, and that they're cheating. They're blocking me, and they're actually tipping off the public in relation to the court case, like it's a massive big joke on them. You know, I'm fighting for my life. I'm fighting for my liberty. I'm the aggrieved victim. It's a lot of pain and suffering in it, and they think it's funny. Okay, it's not funny at all. So I just had to explain to the judge what an interlocutory application for, my reasons why. The courts told me that I felt like I was training them, to be honest. And that was my frustration, because I shouldn't be telling them what to do. They should already be trained by their seniors and know what to say or what to expect. Or, you know, they shouldn't be interrogating and asking me and talking like they don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, so I had to go and explain to the judge what the interlocutory application was for, why it should be on the summary to enter a summary judgment stage. Okay, it is because I was confident enough to prove to the court that if the judge wanted to, if the counsels in that wanted to contest this, I am confident, according to the law, and confident in my own integrity, that there is no way that we'll be able to find anything to backfire. Why? It's because they have contempt of court. Okay, so the contempt of court. I actually read some of these out, and I knew I was convincing the judge, and I could feel that they were like, because that's serious. Okay, because some of these people don't know everything. Okay, I know what I know because I've done the job. I've case managed cases. I've liaised with the judges. I've had to do a lot of things with the laws all the time, and it's been through personal work, not from going to school. It's been from personal work and personal experiences. Okay, so I was just explaining to the judge, because the defendants has also defaulted. They've committed perjury in sense of, perjury is defined in the Crimes Act. So I walked the judge through that. I was able to prove to the judge that it was that New Zealand police, it was contempt of court. The last Crown prosecutor, I think her name was Kyla Grant, she lied. She lied to the court. In fact, if I remember rightly, the judge was furious. I could tell by their expression. Okay, and that's what a competent judge usually reacts when the Crown should know better. And they go in there and they present their case, and then I give my evidence and able to prove to the judge that they lied. They've just misled the judge. Okay, so I was not happy on the 8th, because I felt the same evil spirit was going to do exactly the same to me on that day. But in saying that, when people investigate, they're able to go and retrieve the hearing on that day. My sister, I took one of my sisters as she came and she was listening. There were 2 court takers on that day, but what I have found is the deleting of evidence that is so scary. They've even the stenographers, okay, the evidence when I've asked in the past to transcribe, because I'm very efficient. I pick up everything. I have a good memory. That's how it is when you're a lawyer, and everything's got to be 100% accurate, no mistakes, right? And that's the expectation from those in public office. No mistake. They get paid loads and loads of money not to make mistakes. But unfortunately, the people that have served me, I think kindergarten children can actually do a better job than them. Okay? And I'm quite sure if they talk to you, they'll talk to you honestly. But they have deceived me. They've tried to deceive me, or they've tried to convince me of a lie. But I know my stuff, and I haven't given up, because I'm fighting for my liberty, and because I'm fighting for my property. All these documents I'm sending to court, they're my property, and they're damaging it, they're destroying it. I know sometimes some of them, they've actually shredded it, they've retyped it, and then they ruin my reputation globally, publicly, by turning me into an app and code me, and then I get abused. It's been inhumane. So I can confirm that the Crown lost their case. I was able to prove to the court in regards to the defaults, okay? Also, the Crown had actually made his submission on an application. I hadn't even responded to it. I responded to the application that he put in on the 10th of July 2010. I will go over that interlocutory application, but I'll do that as a separate video, okay? And just to prove my point, I will go over the council's statement of defence, okay? That wasn't even mentioned from his part. So they deceived the judge, okay? The judge's impression was she was going to be listening to the Crown's submission to strike out, because everything was all nicely planned by the courts and the alliances, the warlike alliances, to these women link to Henry Cavill, okay? And that's what I've been used for, okay? So, but there's a reason why they want to do that, okay? There's a reason why this animation system, it is because there's no other way they can have their foot in the door on their opponent other than being able to have informants, other than having a foot in the door by using a substitute. Okay, we're talking about people with law degrees, yes, I've got money in law degrees, versus someone, I don't have a law degree, okay, and I'm not being boastful or anything, but that is my status. But what I'm saying is they're taking advantage of an innocent civilian that is actually a victim of crimes. That is appalling, that is disgusting, that is despicable in the sight of God and in sight of those who are actually, like myself, oppose corruption in any formality. Okay? So I know that I'm risking my life even to go public, but I don't fear the enemy. I feel I'm supposed to be doing this. Okay? And anyway, part of integrity is courage, bravery, standing up against what is wrong, and also being smart and not let yourself get murdered. But it's always upholding the law and justice. I am not perfect. I have made mistakes. But when it comes to court cases, my background has nothing to do with what is said in court. The court forum before a judge is legal. It's authoritative. I know my place, the judge is up there. I know the Crown's place is there. And I know I'm there, whatever they want to put me at. The thing is, the only thing that matters in court is the truth, okay? And integrity and honesty. Anything outside of that, they know that they're in trouble. So I was actually to prove that in court, okay? The court hearing was recorded. So the professional, our Prime Minister or whoever wants to go has that access, the authority can go in and retrieve that. The other thing I found out really serious about this situation, 9 years I've been doing this case, and I've realised how hard it is to even get my own court case. So this tells me the court is being used to actually murder innocent civilians. And I'm a witness to that, okay? So, but anyway, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm doing it. So, I was able to actually prove in the court of law that the Crown, there's a law there that actually talks about, it's in the plaintiffs, let's have a look. I actually told, whoever wrote the laws back in the days is very intelligent, obviously, okay? The laws were actually come by some pretty intelligent people. but they obviously have balance because the laws are set out not only for the super rich, okay, because the super rich likes to use their money to do the talk, but the laws are also are there for those with no money, okay. And when it comes to the laws and the judge and stuff like that, none of that comes in place, okay. But there's actually a law here I actually pointed out. I know that I actually impressed the judge, okay. Let me see because I had to put everything together quickly because things kept changing. I wasn't sure, but I knew I wanted to go in there. But there's actually law. See if I can find it. Just give me a chance. Okay, let's see. So these are really good tips if you're a new lawyer or whatever. As far as the court is concerned, you all have to abide to the protocols. Okay, so even if I die, that's what an experienced investigator will look for to find out if there's any wrongdoing. But there is, I'll just see if I can find it, where it talks about to save the defendant embarrassment that to actually, I'll just see if I can find it. See. Okay. So if you look at these laws, 4.7, I've basically just got out what it actually means for me. It has the laws are written out in a format where it means several things, but it means the same thing, if you know what I mean. It means several things, but it means the same thing. But it's also set out to make sure that people actually. Okay, I can't find it. Anyway, it's one of these laws. I haven't got time to go over it. So I did make my enter a summary judgment also on admits by liability. My enter judgment liability was able, to be accepted under those conditions. But there is, let's see if I can find it. Just hang on. Okay, there's this one here where it says, this section here talks about the lawyers. They are not allowed to leave or abandon a court case without the leave of the court. So when it says the court, in my case, the court means the judge. Why? Because my case, the judge actually is handling it. But no one has responded. Sometimes the registrar can actually respond, but it depends what it is. They cannot respond in everything else. The ideology of a court registrar is to liaise between the parties and the court, the judge, and it is the registrar's highest priority to make sure that the judge gets the correct information so they don't write any unlawful strikes, okay? Because now it's a criminal case, everyone's in trouble. Here it is, section 4.3. The defendants are persons who have alleged, okay? So the Crown is the defendant, okay? The defendants are persons who have alleged that there is a right in respect of or arising out of some transaction, matter, event, instrument, document, series of documents, enactment, or by law, okay? The court may make an order preventing a defendant from being embarrassed. So that was the beginning of my court case. Okay. And this is why. At the end of the court case, I was able to walk the judge through all the laws that involves my interlocutory application. Okay. Because I am adamant. When I say I am adamant, basically mostly everything I say is true. Okay. I have my ways. If I don't want anybody to know anything, I won't say it, okay? But if I say something, it's usually true. The odd time, I don't have a Mickey Mouse sense of humour because of my background. And you find a lot of people with my calibre, okay, from my work, think the same like me. So I'm going to go by the end of going near the end of the case, it went really bad. Okay, I was able to prove that the Crown had just given submission, and according to the laws under section, I read this to the judge, it's fabricating evidence. Okay, we'll go in there. Okay, so I was able to prove to the judge and convince, keeping in mind if I say anything that's not true, it can backfire on me, but I am absolutely 100% that all the judgments written about me is fabricating evidence under the Crimes Act. Okay? I can prove the court of law that everything that has been written about me, those judgments, they've written about me and then put it permanently against my name. Okay? And that's why I have not stopped, because that is my business. My reputation is my business. My reputation belongs to me. My life belongs to me. My life does not belong to anybody else. Nobody owns it. Okay? It's my life, my property, my existence, and I've not consented to anyone to do what they're doing. And there is absolutely nothing on record to prove that I have a mental health issue other than I have been intimately persecuted. I'm a victim of crimes. They maimed me with the car accident, and that's evidential, but there is absolutely no sufficient evidence on court record to prove that I'm mentally impaired or unstable. Okay, they've just taken advantage of somebody's situation and painted a really negative picture in order to steal, in order to give, the glory or other people living off somebody else's life. That is an unfair, cowardice competition, to be totally honest. Okay, so I was able to prove to the judge that the evidence by the councils, they didn't have any. Okay, it's from my point of view and according to the laws, it's fabricating evidence. The documentations, I was even able to point out to the judge that that council put in his submission on the 10th of July 2025, and it was a statement of defence, and he had, they admitted it, okay, and my summary judgment was actually in response to that, okay, so, but he had also used Judge Chalice's he used the Ministry of Health laws. Okay, the Crown used the Ministry of Health laws as a supporting evidence for the judge to back up his words of his statements. Okay, against mine. So I was able to tell the judge at that hearing that it's fabricated evidence. I told her that I was doing stuff I had pressed criminal charges against the Ministry of Health. And I also said that I made submission of Judge Chalice's judgment that Judge Chalice had actually striked out 3 of the doctors, and then the other 3 doctors were the 3 doctors that I challenged in court in appeal, and I won all those courts, but they just kept on doing unlawful strikes. Okay, and that's really serious stuff. So it looked really bad, and and that's also confirmation that these Crown, that they're relying on judgments, and you don't know that the depths of the judgments. For example, here I am fighting for my life, blah blah blah, but he went and used that judgment as supporting evidence. So I was able to tell that to the judge. So that is perjury. That is automatic perjury, guys. Okay, that's misleading the judge. That is perjury according to the law. Perjury is to do with facts, opinion, belief, knowledge. Okay, and even though it says here, well, it says witness. Okay, but witness is somebody that's witness inside of a hearing. Okay, in a judiciary proceeding. So, if, like the wording that they use, the language, it actually means the parties. Witness is, there were there was actually 3 witnesses in the hearing. But this is so dangerous what they're doing to me. They're using me, and then they're luring people away, or people go missing and I'm being isolated, and then they just keep on doing what they're doing. So automatically, Crown, unfortunately, committed perjury. Okay, so I said in one of my video clips that Karen Ferris... Okay, while we're on that topic about evidence, I recall saying this in another video that I did, okay, with Karen Ferris in it. The last time I heard from her was on the 10th of July, because I was waiting for her to send out a statement of defence. But the last time I heard from her was the 10th of July. That was actually due, because the judge had made direction for her to comply to our statement of defence. Okay. However, I know that I showed in that last video clip that somebody had tampered with the email. So this is quite serious stuff. Okay. I've done jury trials, depositions, and murder cases, but this is really serious stuff, what they're doing. So Karen Ferris responded to me on the 10th of July 2010, and she sent me an email. Sorry, I thought I had it up, to confirm that she just wrote acknowledge. Okay, acknowledgement. I'm just trying to find this. Hang on a moment. Okay, let's see. But I had my sister as proof. I rang her on the 10th on my phone, and I told her that Crown had not met the deadline for a statement of defence. Okay, so it's the intimacy here that I'm trying to prove to you guys. I spoke to my sister, Margaret, on that day, and I told her, in fact, she's probably one of the closest person to me when it comes to my court case. Okay, and I told her on the 10th that that it doesn't look like the Crown had made submission. So what my point is, they're listening to me. They're intimately recording. They're intimately watching me. As soon as they know I'm happy, they do the opposite. That is why it is conspiracy to commit murder, because it's continuous. But that's the intimacy I'm having. This even includes my relationship with Henry Cavill in between over the years. And that linking to Natalie Visciso and whoever is behind it linking to the government, okay? But I wanted just to prove that my witness to that email that I put on that last video clip was that I rang my sister on the day and I told her that they didn't put in a statement of defence. But that was the day that Karen Ferris sent me an email as an acknowledgement. So they were actually playing. They're playing games with my personality. They're tormenting me. They think it's funny. And they're ridiculing me using the relationship scam. Okay, so basically God's just showing me what was actually happening going back to 2010 when I was at Church of Christ, and my closest confidant at that time was Pastor King, and I rang him a lot. Okay, in fact, all my private conversations with him on phone would be evidence of everywhere I went, because we were that close. So, but it's the intimacy that's illegal. So espionage has to take place. But it's the gluing, the intimacy, the switching, and because there's sufficient evidence of mixed match evidence, it's a conspiracy to commit murder. Okay, I'm having hacking problems, but the thing I have found out about the technologies, whoever is monitoring me is intimately deleting, intimately sabotaging, intimately interfering. I'm telling you, for the purpose to eliminate me, so then the other party can win. All right. And there's sufficient evidence out there, people who know my work caliber. They know I'm pretty good. Okay, this court case has been going on for over 9 years, so there's a lot of people who have witnessed my work. Hang on a moment. But, this is actually really, really dangerous, even for those in government, to witness something true and then scared for their own life, especially if they believe in the truth. That is really scary situation for the court staff, because I know I went through that when my girlfriend told me that her ex-husband, the father of her child, was murdered. And then, I ended up helping her out, just helping somebody that was in need, because that's what we were supposed to be doing. And she's dead today, okay? But the fact, knowing the truth about something and doing my own investigation, I knew she was telling me the truth, and then they do the opposite. That's scary for the court staff. That's really scary for any court staff to witness stuff like that. Where corruption and then all they can do is turn a blind eye because they're scared for their own life. I also said to the judge on the day that this law here was conspiring to bring false accusation. Okay? So, yes, my opposing allies and those that want a war against me, everything you are saying about me is a conspiracy to bring false accusation on a person that is innocent. And I'm telling you, before God, legally, by law, you have nothing substantial against me. I do know what you think I may be liable for, or whatever you want to think. But I'm telling you, without a shadow of doubt, it will not stand in court. Okay, if this goes, I want this to go to criminal. Anyway, I will end the laws here, but I will go over because I had to cut my court case short because the courts were rushing me to stop. We had to finish by 1. But I felt I needed to cover all the main elements of my case. I wanted to prove to the court that the jurisdiction for the case does not belong in the civil. Actus reus comes in, and I was trying to convince the judge that, and also prove in the criminal court that they're actually guilty. So I did that. I addressed the laws. I addressed where I got $10 million from, okay? And I know I impressed the judge. So I tried not to go off point, but it's hard because I am the aggrieved victim. But I will go over my direction and my submission to the courts, okay, on the 8th. I'll finish off what I said. I'll just go over what I'm saying. I covered everything to the law, okay, but I had to rush. And I also covered the reason why the Crown is liable. It was because of their services. Okay, it was according to the law. Just because, they are independent police code of conduct authority. It was because of their services to me as a vulnerable adult. So that is why they have the police. That's why they have a government system, is to protect vulnerable adults, okay, or children, victims, That's their first priority over anything else. So I was also able to go over the car accident. I told the judge that I was pleading with the judge to read the interlocutory application and summary. I pleaded with her to, have a look at all the other files before she makes another decision. Okay, but these people, they think it's funny. All right, they're watching me intimately. The minute they think I'm happy, they're in my space, destroying it. Okay, that's what's happening. Okay, so that's conspiracy to commit murder, because no one should be that close to you, tormenting your soul and getting pleasure out of it. But it is a warlike spiritual force. It's evil. It's bloodthirsty, killing innocent civilian and actually getting pleasure out of watching people suffer. Okay, so read your circumstances correctly. But I did win my case. It is a criminal case. And then I also walked the judge through the laws about okay, so keep in mind it's a coalition. The rejection is intentional. They know I'm going to go on YouTube. Okay, because they want free information. But it doesn't matter. Even if people have stolen off me, the government still has to pay me what I'm entitled to. But people have stolen off me. They have used me for tax invasion historically. Okay, that's already proven. Okay, so on that day with when Karen Ferris actually sent me an email. It was on the 10th, okay? Here's the 10th here. I spoke and told my sister about it. Okay, that's how I know. But what I have found too, the intimacy has been so intimate that they're destroying evidence, okay? I know some people are dead, but that's not my fault. Okay, that's the fault of the government. Okay, so this is the form I asked the court. See, the court hadn't even confirmed. So basically it was an unfair hearing. Unfair. Absolutely unfair. I'm actually getting my justice doing this, because I know that I've got an audience globally, and in time I know everything's going to change. So this is the other thing I did tell the judge, mention about. I'd asked heaps of times for the courts to release transcripts, especially if the judge is brand new, so then the judge can know, okay? And but the judge has been misled. She made the indication she didn't know I did. That tells me that she didn't read any of the documents. But yeah, so I did the best that I could, but I felt like it was such a waste of time, to be honest. But in this memo, I had asked the judge to confirm who is the new judge. Who about this, just to confirm the new lawyer, because I wasn't sure from my point of view who to explain. Judge Sussex had already given a direction, but it's quite clear they've made up their decision that they don't like me. They'd made up their mind they were going to eliminate me, and that's quite evidential. All right, I'm going to go over. I made an application in court. I basically pleaded with the court, okay? I don't know how others felt, what they heard in there when the judge realised I was the victim, okay? And I had to prove the court everything. So this is what I'd asked the courts. Yeah. I wanted to ask the court to do some direction, okay? And this is what I had, and this is what she got a copy of, okay? So the plaintiff in this matter is the actual aggrieved victim. So according to the law, the aggrieved victim can represent themselves. What I find really disgusting about this is the advantage that they're doing. The advantage of stealing of an innocent person who is actually an aggrieved victim. That is appalling. That is disgusting. That is shameful, right? So, this is what I actually put in the hearing. I will go over it. I read it in court, so that should be recorded. I said the plaintiff seeks the following orders under subpart 1A, emergency, 3.3 emergencies. Lawyers and judges know what this means, okay? This is why it's a conspiracy to commit murder. It's because I've made all these submissions, I've pleaded to the court, and they all want to say, nah, she's a liar. I don't believe her, okay? But it's a cover-up alliance with the same spirit who is scared as hell that they could go to prison and you name it. So I asked the judge, this was actually read in court, they messed up even the court day. They all conspired to make things difficult for me. I had documents missing, and then the judge made a direction to give my synopsis to, it needed to be copied, so then the council can have a copy. So I gave them a copy of that. And then when I got my papers back, everything was mixed. I was nervous, and then the Crown gave me his copy because I couldn't find mine. And then when I read it, I know that there was some stuff missing. So I remembered what I wrote and I made the application. So I'd actually asked the judge to make, I was seeking orders from the court, okay? This is after telling her my life is in a crisis. This is after telling her that, they're going to murder me if the courts don't intervene, okay? So I'm gonna show that what I said in court. I said in court, the plaintiff seeks leave for the court to have a plaintiff's interlocutory application on notice to enter a summary judgment of liability dated July. I'll just skip some of it. And I asked the judge to make a judgment of liability on admission of facts of the High Court Rules 2016 and Section 1515 judgments, because the council had already admitted it, okay? And so I was asking the judge to do that. I'd also asked the judge, because the interlocutory application hadn't been sworn by the registrar who refused to swear it, I asked the judge that if the judge wanted, could give direction to get it sworn before a deputy registrar, because no one wants to serve me, because everyone wants to destroy, wants to steal. Shame, okay? So I'd asked the judge if I could have that interlocutory application to enter summary judgment sworn, but if she was happy, to just make a judgment on what she has. I also told her that the interlocutory application of summary judgment of liability also had, also had the exhibits. So the statement of defense, my statement, and the judiciary statement is all being exhibited. So that should be sufficient enough for proven facts. I also asked the judge, to strike out defendants' applications on the 10th of July and to strike out the defendant's application on the 25th of August. Okay, this is the one that Crown Sean McCusker read in court. So the plaintiff would like to make an application under New Zealand legislation as the victim, okay? And then I just put all that in there, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I went through all that to the judge. And then I asked her to, because I was dealing with my property law, I actually asked her to appoint a welfare guardian for the plaintiff, because I told her people are stealing what I'm entitled to. This is what I told in court, okay? I asked her, she needed to that I needed help, okay? And so I told her that people were stealing my entitlements for my benefit. They're declining everything. So I asked her to, to get our welfare guardian to, take over or to support me in everything I'm going through. So I read out these things in court. I also asked the judge to assign legal aid and a criminal crown barrister to take over the plaintiff's case. Okay. Unbelievable. So, and this here, I'm not ashamed. Okay. It's not my fault. I don't care what you guys think. But I also told the judge that I need a cesarean, that I'm still pregnant. Okay. And I have charged the Ministry of Health with genocide. So these people are making funny jokes about my life, talking indirectly, the government, in their videos. They all know very well what they're doing to me. They're just watching me die, okay? I told the judge I saw the baby's head in the scan. I told the judge that the Ministry of Health has falsified my medical records, and I know that they're going to murder me when I go on anesthetic. I don't trust them. Why would anyone trust somebody, like everything they said about me is lies, and then they're inciting globally. So, National and Labour, you're all in trouble. But this is my truth. They're relying on gossip. They're relying on people that they're inciting to help them sabotage me or murder me. Okay, you guys get paid a lot of money to kill your own people. That's just pathetic. So I asked that. I made that submission in court. Okay, they're luring people away so I can do this and then bury me, delete and kill somebody. Okay, that's the pure evidence of my case, and it's justifiable that I'm angry. I know I'm angry because who wouldn't be, all right? They're stealing. My court case, I went through the judge to convince, because the Crown was laughing, she's charging, they didn't laugh. I'm just saying it in their statements, the way they write their statement, they're mockery. So, they just think I'm a joke. But I actually walked the judge through why my case is worth that much. Okay, so the rejection is real, but they are stealing every single time. Okay, so it is a criminal case. It is conspiracy to commit murder. So part of this document was missing because I gave it to the courts to go and photocopy, and then all my papers got mixed up. So I'll leave, that's all the evidence that was said on the 8th of August 2025, all right? And yeah, I'm just taking one day at a time. I know exactly what they want me to do, but I will not do anything by force. I have not done anything wrong, but I do know that I've been used against my will. I did tell the judge also that my case is a trafficking in persons case, and because of serfdom, okay, been used for debt bondage, slavery, it's there's no limited laws. I told the judge that, okay. But anyway, I will end it at that. So this here is the actual direction I've asked the judge to do for me. So there's sufficient evidence there to prove corruption and to also prove conspiracy to commit murder, total disregard of somebody else's liberty, total disregard of somebody else's legal rights. And I can say that I have escaped death so many times. Okay, these people are micromanaging me. They're threatening me. They're using people within my space 100% and linking it to the substitute. Okay, even when I went in there in the beginning of the hearing, I felt the war-like. It was over Henry Cavill, and Henry knows that, if he wants, there's no force or anything to do with me and him. I don't want to go over there, but I know we'll always be friends. But I'm the type of person, if a guy wants to go somewhere else, he can go. Okay, I don't force anyone to be with me, but it's been for spiritual reasons and for other reasons why I've stuck with our friendship and in our relationship, and a lot of it I've had to go public for both of our sakes and for the right people to actually intervene. Okay. But yeah, so I will end it at that, and my next video clip, I'll don't know yet, but I'll probably go over the interlocutory application, and yeah, I'll leave it at that.